Hello, everyone. I'm Miriam Bale. I'm the artistic director of the Indie Memphis Film Festival and Cinema, and this is our movie club. We do these discussions every week, and our special guest this week is the director, producer, and star of our featured film this week, Hollywood Shuffle, Mr. Robert Townsend. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. There'd be applause if this were real, but we can imagine it.
Well, thank you so much for having me, and I'm just excited to talk and just for honoring me tonight. Appreciate you.
Oh, we're big fans. So you almost need no introduction, but I'll just quickly say that you've been rightly called the godfather of Black independent film. You've directed films like The Five Heartbeats, Meteor Man, Carmen hip opera, which has a huge cult following. I'm not sure if you're aware of that, but we would love to do a screening of that sometime. And you've been involved and you just finished a one-man show, which was about to go on tour. And we were also, let me just give a shout out to the collective in Shorin, who had planned on playing the Meteor Man for our new cinema next month. And obviously that's not happening either, but we were so happy to work with Craig. Yeah, but if we could do it in online version of that, if that was something, if we could find the right streaming. So maybe that'll still happen. So we're going to get started. And let me just ask the question. This is a film that you made for $100,000 or less, Hollywood Shuffle, with your friends. You paid for it yourself. Let's just talk about we have a lot of filmmakers tuning in today. How did you do that? Where did you come up with the money to begin shooting, and how did you get started making this film?
Well, Hollywood Shuffle was born out of a lot of frustration. I'm a young actor in showbiz, and all the roles that I was auditioning for were very stereotypical. A pimp, a hustler, the illiterate basketball player that couldn't read, a runaway slave. And I was frustrated because it was just all negative stuff, and the way they portrayed people of color was very negative. And so rather than complain, I had finished doing a movie called A Soldier's Story, and it was directed by Norman Jewison. It starred Denzel Washington, a young Denzel, Howard Rollins, this fine actor, Adolph Caesar, who got nominated for an Academy Award. The film was directed by Norman Jewison, and we got nominated for 4 Academy Awards, Best Picture. And I was telling my agent, I was like, I want to do more movies like this. This is what I'm talking about, movies like this, where it's well written, well directed. And my agent said, Robert, they only do 1 Black movie a year. And I was like, I want to do more of that. I auditioned for The Color Purple. I didn't get the part of Harpo. And rather than, then I went back to the bad auditions. And rather than complain, I said, I'll make a movie. And at the time, one of my best friends, and still to this day, is Keenan Ivory Wayans. And I say to Keenan, we should make our own movie. I had saved $60,000 in the bank because I had done Soldier's Story. I did another film called Streets of Fire and another film called American Flyers with Kevin Costner. So I had saved all my money and I had $60,000. And my friends were like, are you going to get a Porsche? Are you going to get a Jag? What kind of car? What you going to do? And I said, let's make a movie. And that began making Hollywood Shuffle. And I took all my money out of the bank and I just said, let's make this movie. I had never directed anything before, not even a short. And but I started in a theater, so I had seen writers, directors, and producers, and I witnessed some of the creative process. So then that is where it started. I went through that $60,000 really fast because I didn't know what I was doing. I worked with a lot of students from AFI, and there was a young cinematographer who worked with me and took the chance with me. His name is Peter Deming, and Peter now is one of the top DPs in Hollywood. So I went through my $60,000. I didn't know what I was doing, and then this is where the legend of Hollywood Shuffle came together. I ran out of money, And then I was on the road doing stand-up comedy, and I was trying to figure out how to make more money and finish the film because I was addicted at that point. And then in the mail, I got all these applications for credit cards, Visa, MasterCard, Chevron, Chevron, you know, and I was like, wait a minute, I could finish the movie on credit cards. And that's what I did. And I charged $40,000 on credit cards, and we finished the film. And so my journey to becoming a filmmaker came out of a frustration with the images I was seeing of Black people. So that's how the whole journey started.
And then you were surrounded by talented people who Keenan Ivory Wayans, Damon Wayans, Richard Cummings, a friend of the festival, Richard Cummings Jr. And you got together to make this. Did you? So was the casting process based on people who you saw also at these auditions and these disappointing roles, or?
Well, you know, it's so funny because, you know, Richard Cummings is one of the producers on it. And what it was that, you know, you get all of your friends together and, you know, it's like, let's make a movie, and everybody comes together and we don't know what we're doing, but we're going to do it. And so my casting process, Tony Evanston was the casting with Jackie Brown, and basically it was a mixture of actors that I had auditioned against at different auditions and said, hey man, I think you're a good actor. You know, you wanna, I'm doing this movie. Oh sure, Rob, I wanna be in it. Hey, Jackie goes, hey, you wanna, this person should be in it. Hey, Tony says this person. And all of these people came together, and the casting process started. And it was, you know, like I said, it was really amazing because everybody I asked to be in the film, you know, for the most part said yes to me, even though I had never directed before.
Wow.
And let me talk about the cast. You were asking, you know, Damon Wayans had only 2 lines in the movie. Also in the film was John Weatherspoon, who just passed away recently, one of the big character actors in Hollywood. Anne Marie Johnson was in the film. And so now they're all, you know, Hollywood names, but back then everybody was just starting out.
So I know I was looking to see who was the most famous person at the time, and I thought it would have been John Witherspoon, but it was the beginning of his career. Was Helen Martin probably the most famous person at the time?
Helen Martin was the most famous person. She had done, oh, you've done your research.
Grandma.
Sorry. My grandmother. No, she, oh my God, you want to talk about history. She was in New York at the New Federal Theater when they were doing the Shakespeare, they were doing Othello with Orson Welles. She goes back that far. And she also, you know, people know her TV credits, she was on the TV series 227, but and then she was in Keenan's movie, I'm Gonna Get You Sucker. But the thing that I would say is that her body of work is vast. So yeah, she now when I used to put it that way, she was the one who was more famous than all of us.
But that adds extra weight. What you're saying about her working with like Orson Welles adds so much extra weight to those scenes, because that's how it starts, and she's kind of the heart, your brother and the grandma, and it's like the brother's the next generation and the grandma's this history, which is so interesting because you don't know about that body of work, but you can feel it in her gaze and in her judgmental. And that's the thing, is when you start looking into this, it's like it's always been this way. Like there've been articles like Oscars so white, like since like Gone with the Wind, there's been like these complaints and these and this alternative thing. How is it looking at it for you now? When was the last time you rewatched the film?
When was the last time? It's so funny because there's been different screenings all around the country. So, every now and then I'll see pieces of the film. And I think there was a screening, the last time I saw it, there was a screening at the Indie Film Festival. There's a theater that used to be a silent movie theater, you know, on Fairfax.
Right.
And they had a screening of Hollywood Shuffle. And it was, you know, watching on the screen and hearing the laughter was the most amazing thing. I mean, but when I think about when we made the movie and where we are now, we have come a long way. You know, we really, because back then, you know, those were the only images, these negative images. Now you can see a person of color as a doctor or a lawyer or, you know, a judge, you know, the leading character. We've made a lot of strides, definitely.
But then there's certain things that just ring true, like details within the casting scenes. And as a light skinned person, the light skinned characters, it cracks me up so much. Those characters are so good. And the hypocrisy and but I have to say that in watching it now, I hadn't I think that the Black acting school is one of the sketches that are a key part of the film. And having the lead actor with a British accent, it rings even, it hits different now.
Well, you know, here's the thing. There's a whole British invasion that's going on, you know, because, you know, well, you know, I'm going to say this, and I might get some flack because I just think that the British actors are really well trained. I think their technique sometimes, when I think in terms of Idris Elba, I think that there's something about, and maybe it's just him as an artist, but when they come over here, they're chameleons because they'll be talking on television like this, and then all of a sudden they start acting. It's like, yeah, man. You know, I've been watching The Wire, and Idris was just amazing on The Wire. You didn't detect any English accent, but I just think that they might take their craft a little bit more serious because they've taken over here.
Yeah. Well, I want to ask you, so this was your first movie, you hadn't directed anything. I mean, first of all, it's amazing that you made it for $100,000. Well, that was the budget, right? Something around
Yes.
that. It's
Yes.
incredible because it looks so good. And you just mentioned the cinematographer who went on to do Austin Powers and Mulholland Drive. So, but obviously it's also, it's you, even though you hadn't made a film, there's so many genre references. There's the Bogart, you know, in watching the sketch, I realized, oh, I still haven't really seen a Black film noir. Like that's still something that you know, just straight up noir. And you captured so many different styles, and then the general style too was so commercial. It was so like the use of the score. So how, I just asked a bunch of questions, but let me, like, so I'm assuming even though you hadn't made a film, you had a vast film reference in your head. Like you knew about all of these different genres, right?
Well, you know, as a kid, you know, my nickname was TV Guide because all I did was watch TV. So, you know, I knew everything about television. I'm like, TV Guide, get in here. You know, what's on tonight? 7 o'clock, you know, Humphrey Bogart's going to be in Casablanca. And then 9 o'clock, I mean, I knew everything about television. And so when I watched TV, I never watched television with a prejudiced eye. You know, I loved everybody I saw on TV. So, you know, I wanted to be Humphrey Bogart. So doing Sam Ace in Hollywood Shuffle was kind of like, you know, because Bogart would be like, you know, and then she came into my room and I said to her, what are you doing in here, sweetheart? You know, and he had that whole thing. And with Sam Ace, you know, I wanted to shoot it in black and white. And again, this is my first movie. So I got all these ideas in my head, but it was really my crew that really saved my butt because, you know, I didn't know the lingo and how to, you know, like, hey, we want this kind of setup or we want that. And it was really, you know, my DP, you know, that really saved my butt.
But you must have spoken the same language. Like you must have been able to really easily communicate to him what you wanted and have a clear
Yeah, I mean, well, you know, it's so funny because, you know, it's funny how you learn by watching and studying, and I really became a student of film. So I would watch and study. Like one of my favorite directors is Elia Kazan, And I remember as a little kid watching these movies like East of Eden, A Face in the Crowd, A Streetcar Named Desire. And I'm watching these performances and I'm a little kid, but I knew something was different. I didn't understand what a director really did, but I knew something was different about those movies. And so for me, I've always been a student of film, always, always.
Oh, that's great. I'm curious. Looking at your filmography, you've done, obviously, you know, you've done musicals, you've done sci-fi. Is there a genre that you haven't done that's still on your wish list?
Well, let me see. Meteor Man was a superhero in me. Hollywood Shuffle, political satire. The Five Heartbeats is the music lover in me, and I got to tell everybody about my documentary, Making the Five Heartbeats, which is out right now. Is my journey behind making the movie, and it's available on all platforms. But that's that. Carmen, the hip opera, is a hip hop opera. Holiday Heart is a unique family film. I've touched on, I've done period pieces, 10,000 Black Men Named George. I don't, the new ideas that are in my brain are just so radically different. I just always want to challenge myself. So there's a few more that I haven't tackled yet that I can't mention now, but there's a few more that are in my head that because I always like being, I don't know, it's just in my blood to be a pioneer, to take chances, to take risks and try something new, try something different. And there's a few ideas. One that I'm working on right now that is something I've never done before. So, can't say what it is, but I'm in that creative space of always trying something new.
What a tease, but an exciting tease. I want to see that. But your latest project was was echoing, or at least mentioning back to Hollywood Shuffle. You were just working on a one-man show called Living the Shuffle. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Living the Shuffle, I did it up in Berkeley at the Marsh Theater. It was produced by Lydia Nicole and Don Reed. And Don Reed was, he was on my first Partners in Crime special doing stand-up comedy. And Don also was in Hollywood Shuffle. And so I had the most amazing time. I haven't been on stage in a long time. And I finally got back on stage because I was like, I miss it. I got all these amazing stories. And the one-man show is kind of my journey as an artist. It's this little kid from the west side of Chicago who came from a really rough neighborhood that goes on this Hollywood journey, and he wins. And it's really inspiring. A lot of people that have come, not me giving my own review, but the reviews, say the show is inspiring, it's uplifting, it's funny, it's edgy. I got a story about going to Vegas, and I get an invite to Frank Sinatra's birthday party in Vegas because he loves the Five Heartbeats. And when I get to the party, they have me sitting at the main table in the front of the room. And when I get to the table, it's filled with gangsters. And then it's my evening with the gangsters and Frank Sinatra, and then Don Rickles roasts me, and it just turns into this crazy night. And so I've got all of these stories, like Elia Kazan. He was the one director that I wanted to meet. And I go to meet him, they're doing a small dinner for him at the DGA, and there's a bomb scare. And so I'm there, and I'm the only one in the room. And then all of a sudden there's bomb sniffing dogs and everything. And eventually he shows up, and it's the evening that I had with Elia Kazan and Warren Beatty. So it's all of these stories in my life that this little boy went through. And I think it's, because it's a story, for artists, because there's a lot of artists that go, how do you do it? What happens when you hit a roadblock? How do you deal with that? How do you deal with, success and failure and winning and losing and staying in the game? And for me, when I do my one-man show, you see life is a journey, but if you can hang in there, you will win.
It sounds like a lot of people tuning in would love to see that. We're already getting some questions about that, how to be an artist, how to be a journey, about that journey. Hopefully we'll all get a chance to see it. That was about to, you were just getting started when this all happened, right?
Yeah, no, I was just mapping out where I wanted to tour because, here's the thing, I'm blessed with a lot of talent. God has given me a lot of talent. So, I'm a director, I'm a writer, I'm an actor, I'm a producer. And then, like I said, my performing chops, I hadn't done it, but, you're used to a bicycle, you know how to ride again and again. And so I just had a wonderful time.
Oh, that's great. I hope we all get a chance to see it. And selfishly, I know you probably don't want to revisit and want to move forward, but I'm always hoping, like I'm always surprised that there's not a Hollywood shuffle for women in film or for Black women in film, or honestly, for film critics. You almost did it with Sneak It Into the Movies, but there's so much rich material there. I feel like the Hollywood shuffle, there's so much to satire. I mean, would you ever consider looking back at Hollywood shuffle with like a younger generation and producing something like that? Or
it's funny because people have asked me all the time about Hollywood Shuffle Part 2. And, Keenan and I talked about it, and it's like, okay, how would we tell the story, and what's the way in, and can it be, as good or even better as Hollywood Shuffle? And so it's all of those questions, because to really take on Hollywood now, it's a different time. There's a lot more images. And so, but I hear, as much as things change, they stay the same. So I don't really know, but I've thought about it, but I don't know where the story is and where we would be right now.
Well, I hope if it doesn't feel right for you, I hope it inspires some younger filmmakers who are watching and going through their own version of this. I swear the women director version would be rich. It would be so rich.
Well, see, maybe that's your story. Maybe you're the one behind that one, because the way when you said it, I was like going, wait a minute, there might be something there. But it's kind of like, if it's your passion level, then you have to meet it, because it's like, what is for you is for you. So for me, I was like, I don't know. And you go like, for this side, maybe there's another a layer there.
Okay, well, let's start the Q&A portion. Let's start the questions. I have a question from YouTube. We're also broadcasting this on YouTube. And I have a question from YouTube. Do you have any advice on finding a filmmaking mentor for people in less industry not in LA and New York?
I just think right now with social media, it's about just doing your homework and doing your research. And if you want to find somebody to mentor you, because sometimes, it's like, I get that conversation all the time. Everybody goes, would you be my mentor? If I tried to mentor everybody that came up to me, I wouldn't get any work done. But I just think that you've got to dig in and use your, I call it your spider senses, to say, what kind of mentor, who's that mentor? It could be somebody that's in Memphis, and you never know who's going to give you the valuable information you need. I just think that sometimes people always reach out to the same people all the time. And, there's a lot of people that taught me that you don't even know their names. They infused me. And now I try to give back as much as possible. But I just think you've got to, look for them and find it. And if you work hard enough and seek it, it'll come to you.
That's great. Here's a kind of related question from Jade Benson, who says, I love your work. And she is an actress, and she wants to know, what is the quality that an actor can have outside of just raw talent that makes your job as a director easier, or a quality that you really admire in actors?
Well, when I have auditions, what I love the most is to see an actor's instincts. Like when somebody comes into the room, I want them to take some chances and have ideas of what they want to do with the character. It's almost like when I see that confidence, when an actor walks in a room and they've already kind of relaxed in it, and they kind of go, I'm going to do it this way. And I just want to watch. Because when I have auditions, I don't direct the actors initially. I just let them do what they're doing, and I just kind of watch. I watch their instincts. And then if I see something that I like, then I go, hey, now I want to touch it a little bit. So what if you did it this way? Can you slow it down? And this time, and then I want to see if they can take direction. But the thing that I say to actors all the time is leave it in the room. Don't get in your car and go, man, I wish I would have really did that. I really felt more comfortable if I would have done. And it's like, instead of that, when you're in the room, you know, give it your all, leave it all there. And if you hit some notes that are uncomfortable, I want to hear those notes, as opposed to, I did everything so safe. And then you get in the car and you go, I wanted to do it like this and I wanted to do it like that. But in the room, you're like this, you know, take chances.
Interesting. And this is a question for me related. What did you, since your first film was Hollywood Shuffle and your experience on set before that was an actor, what did you learn as an actor that that was especially helpful as a director? I mean, I'm sure you were watching different sets and different.
Well, you know, I mean, I started out as an extra. So I did extra work in New York City for almost 7 years. So I was an extra. So when you're an extra, you get to see everything. But I was a different kind of extra because I was always looking to get upgraded, because you can make more money if you spoke. So I got upgraded in The Warriors. I got upgraded in a movie called Fast Break with Gabe Kaplan. I was always wondering where the camera was and what the camera was doing. So it's, people say all the time, it's like, once you're an extra, that's all you're ever going to be. But I didn't believe it. And it's like what your belief system is. You know, I was using extra work to pay my bills and also to be on set. And so I could watch. I didn't know technically what the director was really doing and what the camera was really doing, but I could understand the setup in its basic terms. And that helped me a lot.
That's great. And when you talk about you like just like a line or something, you got upgraded and more money if you got a line in like The Warriors or something.
You got a line, or if you did special, what happened in The Warriors was that basically there was like 1,000 of us out in Central Park. The Warriors is about a gang summit that happens in New York City, and the leader of this gang is trying to bring peace. That's the gang that I was in, the Riffs. And he's like, I'm trying to bring peace and we could get together, all the gangs, and somebody shoots him and then he hits the ground. And so what they did was they said, there was 1,000 of us out there, 100 were actors, the rest were real gang members. And so, so they gave us bottles and sticks and chains, and they go, when the body hits the ground, all chaos breaks out. And what happened was this, people were getting hurt because the gangs were really using the chains and the bottles and hitting people in between takes. So I didn't want to get hurt and I didn't want to run all night. So this is the first time I took a chance. The body fell over there and I said, I'll be the one guy to protect the body. So when they said camera A, camera B, camera C, and action, I ran toward the body and I stood near the body and I was just standing. And then over the bullhorn, I hear the first AD, the guy near the body, stay near the body. You know? And when they said cut, he ran over to me and he says, what's your name? And I go, Robert Townsend. He goes, the director loved what you did. You know, you just got upgraded. And he goes, you're going to make more money. And I was like, what? You know, and then we took a 20-minute break. And when we came back, they had reblocked the scene around me. And I was standing there with 20 guys protecting the body. And it was 20 guys and me. And in that moment, I realized I had affected the scene. I was thinking like a writer, not just, I didn't want to run and there was a thing, but I said, wait, I can protect the body. And they gave me more money because I was just standing there looking defiant. And that's how I made, everybody else was making $66 and I made 166 on that night. So it's just hustling.
That's amazing. So you were thinking like a writer and also literally trying not to get hurt.
Trying not to get hurt.
You're trying to survive. That's so great. Okay, so more questions. Keith Lee wants to know about the connection between, he actually asked which came first, but it's your film or I'm Gonna Get You Succ, but it's obviously Hollywood Shuffle. But do you want to talk a little bit about the relationship of those films and how, I mean, I noticed that there's even a line in your film where someone says, "I'm gonna get you succ." So was Keenan inspired to make that after this film, after seeing you direct? Because that was his directorial debut, right?
Yes, you know, it's funny because Keenan, I talked to him today, but a few months ago we were talking, and because I was like, man, like, did we really kind of start a revolution of sorts with Hollywood Shuffle? Did we really? Because sometimes people go, man, that film is legendary, and you were like young guys. And so Keenan was, and I said, and then you directed your movie, man. He says, Rob, I was watching you direct, man. I was like, he's directing and he's acting. He goes, it was amazing to watch. And it kind of gave me, the inspiration to do I'm Gonna Get You Sucker. And so, we're family. So it was just like, because it's the funny thing is like, and this is, I guess, to all the young artists out there that have a dream, dreams do come true. You have to work hard. And when I think about the journey, Keenan was always the first soldier. You need that crazy friend that believes in you. Like you go like, hey, like, because Keenan, anything I would say, because we're boys. So I said, Keenan, hey man, let's rob a bank, and Keenan, Rob, I'm off on Thursdays. You know what I mean? He would just be game, and you need that crazy friend, and we're boys to this day.
That's beautiful. Okay, there's a related question from Asia Raisin, who says, so my writing partner and I just finished a series. We're copywriting our work as we speak. And this is a question that she's asking, a lot of people are asking. She says, how do we get it out there? We're thinking of doing it ourselves. You inspired that, but the fear of going broke is there, especially when we're already broke. So how does someone fight against the fear of going broke when they're inspired to do it themselves? You started with your own money, yeah. So yeah.
Well, the thing that I would say to anybody, it's the day shift versus the night shift. Sometimes people feel like, well, I don't have to have a regular job. I'm an artist, and it's like the day shift pays the bills. The night shift, that's where the passion lives. So if you're thinking that you're going to go broke, you're going to go broke. But if you think that making your web series or TV series is going to be film school, that's what it is. And you figure it out. Sometimes it's really not about money. I learned that with Hollywood Shuffle. Sometimes it's about bartering things. It's about looking in your phone and saying, okay, I have 200 friends on my phone. Who owns what buildings and what restaurants and who would give it to me for free? Hey, what actors could I work with? Hey, should I shoot it with an iPhone? Hey, there's a digital camera that could be free. Wardrobe, let me talk to this cleaners down here and say, hey, give me the clothes that are left over, and I'll clean your warehouse. There's a way to make it all work. Hey, craft service. My mama can cook, my cousin can cook, my brother's a real good cook. Let's just make tuna on this day and pasta on this day, and let's do grilled shrimp on this day. There's a way to figure it out. What happens a lot of times is that people go for the biggest thing first. They go, I want to do 100 million, gazillion movie, big picture, instead of saying, just work your muscle as a director, work your muscle as an actor. Just work it, just shoot something. Sometimes I think, people, they want to be at the finish line. They don't want to put the work in. And the work is, you write the script, just shoot a scene. Let me see if you can shoot the scene. Take your time, shoot the scene properly. What's the camera angle? What's the movement? Work with your actors. Develop your muscles. Everybody, I want to make it now. The other thing that Keenan and I, did really well, and I think the yin and the yang, is that there was quality control. Is that joke the funniest joke? Could that joke be better? I want to encourage everybody here to see the documentary, Making the 5 Heartbeats. It is my creative process. Keenan and I did close to 25 drafts of that movie. And you see us in the documentary going, because now 5 Heartbeats is considered a classic. Over 300 million clips have been shared. I mean, we went through all the different sites to say how many clips have been shared. But part of what made, the film is the work behind the scenes. People do 1 draft, 2 drafts, and it's great. No, you got to take time to really, get feedback, and we did table read after table read, hearing the words. That worked. Oh, I didn't like that scene. What do you think? Nah, man, we need to cut that. And we weren't, we were hard on each other to create something really special. So if you want to be born, you decide when you want to be born. You could be born this year, you could be born 2 years from now, you could be born 6 years from now. You decide. If you're waiting like, when am I gonna be born? You know, now is a different time. You can make a movie with an iPhone. You can make a really good movie with an iPhone. You can edit on your computer. So the only thing that's gonna stop, you know, this new generation of filmmakers is gonna be fear.
That's interesting. Well, that's very related. Someone just asked, how does someone make a film in 2020 for 100K? And I'll put that question to you, but it should be a lot easier because you've made this film on film, right?
Yes.
I read that you got the short ends, you got the leftover film from the films that you were working on, and you kind of cobbled together shots from that. That's incredible. So I'll put that question to you. How does someone make a film for 100K now? And
okay. If I was going to produce a film now, you know, for 100K, I could make it for less than 100K. And this is what I would do. One, you know, you call all of your friends and see who has a restaurant, who has a cleaners, who has whatever. And then if they say you can get it on free, it's closed on Sunday, then I'm going to use that and I'm going to write a script around that location. I'm going to go to all the community theaters and find the different actors, and I'm going to work with the actors. Wardrobe, I say, what's in your closet? Bring your wardrobe. I might go to a barber shop and say, oh, Kim Kimball, who is one of the biggest hairstylists right now, she volunteered to work on a theatrical production of The Five Heartbeats. On that production, she worked for no money. Now Kim Kimball is Beyonce's hairstylist, and she works with the biggest stars, Mary J. Blige, everybody, but she put some skin in the game. So producing a film, you know, unless the film has big explosions and car chases and all of that, it's just either it takes place in a bedroom, a living room, an office, a hospital. There's only so many locations, and those locations, if you work really well, you could get it for free. The camera, lighting package, and all of that, these new cameras, these new iPhones, they don't need a whole lot of light. And again, at the end of the day, it's all about the story you're telling. So it's not so much about, you know, like, man, it didn't look as, you know, it's about the acting, the storytelling. So there is a way, but now you've got to, the hardest thing about making movies and television shows is managing personalities, because everybody comes into the world with an ego. And so, you know, you can get people to work and play nice, or some people go like, nah, man, I don't, you know, the camera's gonna be over here, but I'm the director. I don't care what you say, the camera, I'm the DP, you know, and people sometimes can't work together. Actors are directing other actors. Nah, man, you know, when you say your line, you should say it like this. But I'm the director. No, I'm just telling him how I see it going. A lot of times with new performers, they don't understand their manners. They don't say, he's a director, she's a director, I'm listening to the director. Where would you like me to be? Okay, I'm going to be over here. Sometimes people want to have a lot of say, and it's just managing personalities. That's, to me, is the hardest thing.
That's so there's another question, quick one. Michael asked, any chance of a Meteor Man 2?
You know what? People have asked me about Meteor Man. The thing that I would say is this. I've created a lot of films that, you know, like people go, Hollywood Shuffle 2, Meteor Man 2, Baps 2, because I directed Baps. I never want to repeat myself. You know, if there's a story there that really makes sense, I may do it. But for the most part, I've got way too many ideas in my brain right now that I just want to get out. You know, I got all these ideas that are just like, we want to get out, you know, and I try, I've never repeated myself. The only time has been this documentary.
Oh, okay. And now I have a question. I think this is going to be our last question because we need to start wrapping up. And it's a doozy. It's a really tough question, but I think you can handle it, Mr. Robert Townsend. Abraham asks, what ideological challenges did you face while making Hollywood Shuffle? How would you answer that?
What do you mean? What do you mean? What do you mean?
I don't know. Abraham asked it. Ideological challenges. Like, I mean, I imagine you probably don't have time for thinking about like politics and ideology, and you're just doing it, right? Like as you're
Well,
making.
well, you know, with Hollywood Shuffle, the only thing that I would say is that, you know, we love Hollywood, you know, and not everybody is prejudiced or not everybody is mean. Not every director is a jerk. And I think, you know, our approach was to tell our truth. Like, this is our truth. And I think, you know, rather than let Hollywood poison us and be bitter or angry, we laugh and we go like, this is the funniest, some white directors trying to tell me how, no, it's all wrong. You're a bad mofo. You're a bad mofo. Homeboy, you say to her, I ain't playing with your ass. I want my money, biatch. Now you say it, you know, and when you have people, you know, directing you, we found it very funny. So rather than get bitter or angry behind it, you know, we didn't have a political agenda. It was just really, this is our truth. We were being authentic, 1,000% authentic.
That's wonderful. And I love those lines where they're like, can you, that's very black. Could you do that a little more black? It still hits though. It's such a wonderful film. So I just want to give, before we wrap, I want to say, please join us next week. Next week, we'll be talking with Barry Jenkins about a film called The More the Merrier, which is on Criterion right now, a George Stevens movie from 1944. And I want to say this was such a delight. Thank you so much for making the time to talk with us.
Thank you so much for having me, and continued sessions in Zoom. And I just can't wait till this is all over with. I look forward to coming down there, and hopefully we can screen Meteor Man and meet face to face.
That would be amazing. Thank you so much. All right. Bye, everyone. Bye, Robert.
Bye-bye.
I'll see you in person soon.